The first bag arrived on a Tuesday. It was black, industrial grade, tied with a thick knot. Eduardo almost didn't notice it, nestled as it was against the welcome mat, a stark contrast to the cheerful yellow of his front door. But something about its weight, its unsettling stillness, made him pause. Inside, nestled amongst layers of newspaper, was a hand, severed cleanly at the wrist, bloody with skin stretched tightly over bone. Eduardo recoiled, heart hammering against his ribs. He stumbled back into his house, the bag falling to the floor with a nauseating thud. He didn't call the police, not yet. He told himself it was a prank, a fucking joke. He told himself he was imagining things. He had to be. The next morning, another bag, identical to the first. This one contained a foot, toes perfectly manicured. Eduardo's own toes, he realized with a chill that snaked down his spine. He checked his feet, frantically wiggling his toes. They were there, attached. But the foot in the bag, it was his. He knew it. The bags kept coming. Every morning, another piece. A leg severed at the knee, an arm, the bicep bearing a faint, almost healed scar he knew intimately. His torso, hacked apart with brutal efficiency. Each piece was meticulously wrapped, almost reverently placed in the heavy plastic bag. Each piece was undeniably, horrifyingly his. Sleep became a luxury Eduardo could no longer afford. He sat guard by the door, a rusted baseball bat clutched in his trembling hands, waiting for the unknown deliverer. But no one ever came. The bags simply appeared, materializing in the pre-dawn gloom. His apartment transformed into a grotesque shrine. The nightmare reached its breaking point on a stormy Friday night. Eduardo sat in his living room, eyes sunken and wild, surrounded by the grisly remnants of himself. His breath came in shallow gasps as he tried to piece together the impossible, and then a knock at the door. It was soft but deliberate, almost mocking. Eduardo rose on unsteady legs, bat in hand, every muscle screaming at him to run. He opened the door, and there it was, another black bag, identical to the others. He untied the thick knot with trembling fingers, heart pounding in his chest as he peeled the plastic back. Inside was his own severed head, eyes wide and lifeless, frozen in a final expression of terror. He turned slowly, feeling a shift in the air, and there it was, a figure standing in the doorway. It didn't belong here. It didn't even fully exist in this dimension. There was something unmistakable about its presence. A hunter's patience, a predator's delight. He had been murdered, but not in this world. Somewhere in a parallel dimension, a serial killer had found him, tortured him, and meticulously dismembered him. Piece by piece, the killer had carved Eduardo's body apart. But something had gone terribly wrong. The boundaries between dimensions had cracked, just enough for pieces of his mutilated body to bleed through. Each morning, another piece of Eduardo's corpse had slipped into this world, manifesting on his doorstep like a cruel reminder of a death he had never experienced here. The figure in the doorway was the killer. It had crossed over from its own dimension, a world where it had finished its work on Eduardo. The last thing he saw before everything collapsed was the killer's face.
Just smiling.